So fasting. What's the technical definition of fasting, anyone?
To restrain from something.
Yeah, to restrain. Yeah. So the technical definition, abstain. So when we fast, we're abstaining not just from food and drink, we're abstaining from everything that is a disobedience of Allah. So when I'm fasting, my eyes should be fasting, my ears should be fasting, my tongue should be fasting, my hands should be fasting. And what I mean by fasting is abstaining. My feet, my entire limb should be abstaining, should be fasting. Even my heart should be fasting as well. What that means is my entire body and my heart is abstaining from the disobedience of Allah. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what fasting is about. So fasting isn't just staying hungry and thirsty and that's it, my job's done. And I can miss my salah the whole way through. I can, watch TV all day and watch movies all day to pass my time. So that's not what fasting is. I'll give you some hadith and so you'll understand a bit more.
You got some cool blue gold.
There's a narration in Bukhari that the Prophet ﷺ said, "من لم يدع قول الزور والعمل به فليس لله حاجة في أن يدع طعامه وشرابه." That whoever does not leave evil speech and bad actions, Allah has no need for that person to leave his food and drink. So just listen to how severe that is. Whoever doesn't leave bad speech and bad actions, Allah doesn't have any need for that person to stay hungry and thirsty. And why is that person staying hungry and thirsty? Who's he doing it for? What's he trying to achieve? Because by staying hungry and thirsty, what are we trying to achieve by this?
Get close to Allah.
Get close to Allah, isn't it? Because that is the purpose of fasting, to gain taqwa and get closest to Allah. But at the same time, if I'm doing bad things, or I'm speaking bad, I'm saying bad things to people, I'm swearing at people, I'm insulting people, or I'm just lying and things like that, I'm backbiting, am I getting close to Allah? Am I getting closer to Allah?
No.
No, I'm not, am I? So that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Although the obligation of fasting will be done, so Allah won't punish him for not staying hungry and thirsty, but the rewards of fasting will not be there. Yeah.
Is it whoever doesn't leave bad speech
Or bad actions?
and
Allah has no need for him to leave his food and drink.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to write it down?
No. Another hadith. It's narrated in Ibn Majah that the Prophet ﷺ said, رُبَّ الصَّائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعُ. That there are many people that fast, but they gain nothing from fasting except for hunger. Imagine, you fasted the entire day, entire month of Ramadan, and you're thinking, okay, alhamdulillah, I'm doing this for Allah. It's difficult, but I'm going to get rewarded. The Prophet ﷺ saying many people that fast, but they gain nothing from their fasting except for hunger. وَرُبَّ قَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهَرُ. And many those that stand in prayer at night, i.e. in Tarawih Salah and Tahajjud Salah, but they gain nothing from it except for tiredness, i.e. staying awake at night time. So they don't get any rewards. So the fasting person, why? Because they don't stay away from Allah, they don't stay away from haram, or they miss their salahs during the day. They sit there watching TV all day, or watching films all day. That's what so many people will do that. I think, okay, we have a Ramadan film list. So what films I'm going to watch every day to pass the time of iftar? Or we sit there playing PlayStation all day. Or we sit there watching, TV all day. And we miss our salah as well. So these things aren't taking us any closer to Allah, and the purpose of Ramadan is not being attained. And the rewards of fasting will not be there. Another hadith of Nasa'i, the Prophet ﷺ said, الصِّيَامُ جُنَّةٌ مَا لَمْ يَخْرِقَ. That fasting is a shield as long as he does not tear it. Then it was asked, وَبِمَا يَخْرِقُهَا. How does a person tear this shield? So the Prophet ﷺ said the fasting is a shield. So that how does a person tear that shield? Then the Prophet ﷺ said, بِكَذِبٍ أَوْ غِيبَةٍ. By lying or backbiting. So we think, these things are something very minor, isn't it? Just a small lie. And it doesn't matter. Have you prayed Fajr? Yes, I prayed Fajr. Or have you done this? Oh, yes, I've done that. And you know that you haven't. So even something small as this, we think it's small, it's going to destroy your rewards of fasting. Or ghiba, backbiting, talking about someone behind their back. And women do this all the time. You know, one woman will ring another woman. Oh, did you hear what happened in that person's house? And
Us men do it to their faces.
so they're fasting in Ramadan, they're going through all these difficulties, staying hungry, staying thirsty, you have to do so much of the housework while in this condition, but all that reward is gone by talking about others behind their back. And backbiting isn't lying about someone, by the way. A lot of people think, no, I'm not backbiting because it's the truth. The definition of backbiting is saying the truth about someone behind their back. That if that person was to hear me saying that, they'd dislike it. That is what backbiting is.
It's better to say it to their face.
Yes, no, that's still a sin as well.
Is it better?
Both are bad.
Is
Okay.
it less worse?
So that's what backbiting is. So that if something is lying and backbiting destroys our Ramadan, our fast. Imagine missing Salah, which is even worse. Imagine what that does to our Ramadan. There's another hadith narrated by Ahmad, and other books of hadith have quoted it, that two women came to the Prophet ﷺ, and there are two women that were fasting in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and a man, came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said that there are two women who are fasting, but it's as if they're about to die out of thirst. So the Prophet ﷺ, what he done was, he turned away from this man that gave him this news that these two women are fasting, and it seems like these two women are about to die of thirst. The Prophet ﷺ turned away from him, or the Prophet ﷺ, he just stayed silent, didn't say anything. And then the man again, he asked, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, he called him over. He said to the man, okay, call the two women over. And فَجَاءَتَا, the two women came. قال, then the Prophet ﷺ said, the narrator says, فَجِيءَ بِقَدَحٍ أَوْ عُسٍ. So the Prophet ﷺ, he ordered for a big bowl or pot to be brought in front of him. And فَقَالَ صلى الله عليه وسلم لِإِحْدَاهُمَا. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to one of them, قِئِ. He told one of them to vomit inside the pot. فَقَاءَتْ قَيْحًا وَدَمًا وَصَدِيدًا وَلَحْمًا. Then she vomited pus, blood, meat. There's vomit obviously. So all these disgusting things came out. حتى ملأت نصف القدح, until half of the pot was filled. ثم قال للأخرى, and the Prophet ﷺ said the same thing to the other, told her to vomit. And then فقاءت من قيح ودم وصديد ولحم عبيد وغيره. So then she threw up, pus, vomit, blood, etc. until the entire pot was full. And then ثم قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, then the Prophet ﷺ said, إن هاتين صامتا عما أحل الله لهما. Indeed, those two women, they fasted from that which Allah had made halal for them. What was halal was the food and drink, isn't it? So they abstained from the halal, the food and drink. وَأَفْطَرَتَا عَلَى مَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمَا. But they broke their fast with that which Allah had made haram for them. And the Prophet ﷺ will explain, جَلَسَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا إِلَى الْأُخْرَى. One of those would sit with the other woman. So in our context, one woman phoned another woman. فَجَعَلَتَا تَأْكُلَانِ مِنْ لُحُومِ النَّاسِ. And they began to eat from the flesh of people. So that's another way of saying backbiting. When you're eating from the flesh of another person. Allah says, do not eat the flesh of your brothers in the Quran. Referring to backbiting. So what it is, they used to fast the day, but they spend that time talking bad about other people. Oh, did you hear about this person? Did you hear about this person? Did you hear about this person? So they stayed away from the halal, but they spent the day in the haram. Does that make sense? So even though they were thinking, okay, alhamdulillah, we're doing such a good deed, we're fasting in the month of Ramadan, we're doing this.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, so all the rewards of their fast is gone. And there's another hadith in Daylami that Abu Hurairah narrates, that as-sa'imu fi ibadah, a fasting person is in the worship of Allah. He's constantly in the worship of Allah. Ma lam yaghtab musliman aw yu'dhihi. As long as he does not do ghiba, backbite a Muslim, or does not harm another Muslim. So your fasting is a worship itself. Every single second that is going by, you're worshipping Allah. Unless you're engaging in backbiting, or you're harming another person, then that reward is gone. So the purpose of the month of Ramadan is with our limbs to come closer to Allah. Every single one of my limbs should be according to the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My eyes should be fasting. What that means is I do not look at haram with my eyes. If you're a man, you don't look at women. You don't watch TV. With your eyes should be fasting. You shouldn't be listening to music while you're fasting. Or anything which is a disobedience of Allah. If two people are backbiting, my fasting should tell me that I should move away from these two people. Because my ears need to be fasting. I shouldn't be listening to any backbiting. If people are swearing, I should move away from them. My tongue should be fasting. I shouldn't be swearing at other people, saying words to hurt other people. All these will destroy and ruin your number one, connection with Allah, and number two, your rewards with your rewards of fasting. My hands, my feet, I should make sure that none of my body parts are used for the disobedience of Allah. And then likewise using all of our body parts for the obedience of Allah. I use my feet to stand in salah, use my eyes to look at the Quran, use my tongue to read the Quran. I use my ears to listen to the Quran. I use my physical energy for the worship of Allah. Does that make sense? So every single one of our limbs, using them for the worship of Allah. And then using my heart as well. What's a sin of the heart? What does that mean?
Bad intentions.
Anything else? Okay, bad intentions. What else could be a sin of the heart? Sin of the heart is pride. Thinking these are major sins, by the way. Having pride is a major sin. Thinking that you're better than other people. Or jealousy, anger, hatred for others, other Muslims. So all these are sins of the heart. So I have to try and cleanse my heart from its diseases and purify my heart for the worship of Allah. Does that make sense? So you go to sleep every day with a clean heart. Forgiving anyone that if someone's done wrong to you, you forgive them. You go to sleep with a clean heart. There's a famous hadith, have you guys heard it? That once the Prophet was sitting and a group of people, there were people walking past. And the Prophet said to the people around him, you know that person over there, he's a Jannati. He's going to go to Jannah. Then people are confused, like, why is he so special? Like, he just pointed him out randomly, saying that he's going to go to Jannah. Then Sahaba wanting to know, because obviously all the Sahaba, they would do anything to go to Jannah. That's how the Iman was. So they immediately went to that person. And they asked him, can I stay with you for 3 days? I think it was 3 days. So they said, can I stay with you? And then the person said, of course, because the Arabs are generally very hospitable people. So then they stayed with him. I think it's one person or two, I can't remember. I think it must be one person. So they stayed with him. The reason why they want to stay with him is to see what good deed that he does that the Prophet ﷺ called him a Jannati. So the first day went by, they didn't see anything. Second day, third day. And after they approached him, the Prophet ﷺ called you Jannati, and I stayed with you to see your actions, see what you do, so that, I can be one of them. But I didn't see anything from you different to what we all do. And the person said, okay, I don't do anything special, but maybe it's because before I go to sleep, I forgive everyone. And then I go to sleep. So I don't keep anything in my heart. I cleanse his heart before I go to sleep. So this is what we call cleansing our heart for the worship of Allah. We're purifying our hearts from all evil qualities. So in Ramadan, try to come close to Allah with our heart, or purifying our heart, and with our actions at the same time.